This is episode 112. Welcome to Wellness in Every Season, the podcast where we explore the rich tapestry of wellness in all of its forms. I'm your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach turned wellness coach, as well as a certified parenting coach dedicated to empowering others to rediscover their identity in their current season of life. My goal is to help you thrive both as an individual and as a parent. Today I have with me Lori Brand, and she has quite a background. It's going to be a fun conversation. She's a writer, and I love that she's a lifter and she's a weightlifter. She's
Yeah.
done a ton of stuff. Tell us
Uh-huh.
more about you.
Okay.
This background is amazing.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say, like, why my main thing here, the reason why I'm on today is that I recently wrote a thriller called Bodies to Die For. So I'm the author of a thriller. But prior to writing that, I have written articles for many fitness magazines. I've been a bodybuilder. I've been a I've been a stripper. I've been a gymnast. I've been a dancer for a number of years. So I was really in that whole body space. And don't worry, I have a day job as an engineer, but I've been very interested in the body space on how we treat our bodies, how women judge ourselves, how we judge each other. And I really wanted to focus on that. I just kept thinking about there was an incident that came up, and we can talk about it. We can dive into it shortly, but there was an incident that happened a few years ago that just really piqued my interest. And I just wanted to explore that war on women's bodies, right? The wars that we wage on each other, the wars we wage on ourselves. And I've been writing fitness articles for so long, but you're preaching to the choir. If people pick up a fitness magazine, they're already probably people who like to work out or lift weights or whatever. And I wanted a sneaky way to get in other people's heads to I really wanted to explore this across all women. I dedicated my book to all women everywhere to really delve into that getting strong is the answer, not shrinking, not trying to attain somebody else's beauty standards, and that we as women need to quit tearing each other down, tearing ourselves down, and lift each other up.
It makes sense that you would write that book
Yeah,
and coming out of nowhere.
yeah, I think so. The first time diet culture really popped on my radar, I was 10 years old, and my dance teacher, who I've been going to since I was like 3 years old, she had her jaw wired shut because she wanted to lose weight. And she had her jaw wired shut for a number of months. She didn't teach during that time, her assistant taught. But I remember being just so stunned that she intentionally did this to herself. And she was still there. She was like off in a corner, like taking notes while I had my dance lessons. And it wasn't just that she did this, it was that all the other parents and adults and everything were cool with it. So, how important was it to be thin? It was important enough that a grown woman would wire her jaw shut and the world would shrug. And man, ever since then, it's been on my radar. So, I've been picking up things the whole time. I'm 55 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when was that?
I was fourth grade. I'm 55.
19.
It would have been 1979. Apparently, back then, wiring your jaw shut was a thing, or occasionally a thing. People, if they wanted to lose weight, would have their jaw wired shut. I don't know if it was by a doctor or a dentist or whom, but would have their jaw wired shut. And at one
Wow.
point, I had asked her if I could see the wires, and she hooked her finger in the side of her mouth and she pulled it back, and there were wires zigzagging up and down between her upper and bottom teeth, and her jaw was wired shut. So she just had to sip on shakes for a few months.
I was just gonna
It was
ask,
really
what did
yeah, but that's why also she couldn't teach. Her assistant had to teach because when she talked, she had to talk like this because her jaw was wired shut. Yeah. And it was ever since then. And then because I've been in these spaces, I was a dancer, then I was a gymnast, right? You have to be a certain, there's like optimal sizes to be a gymnast. And so that was certainly on my radar as a gymnast. And then when in college, I was a stripper. Eventually, I got into bodybuilding. So it's just always been on my radar and how women judge themselves and judge each other. And I wanted to plumb that and I wrote it in a book.
and how have you viewed your body differently through all of those different phases?
So I was always very conscious of it. Ever since I was 10, I was conscious of it. And I remember being insecure when I was like around 15 years old. One summer, I used to go to my friend's house all the time. And this one particular friend, we used to lay outside and suntan. Her mom had recently lost a bunch of weight, and she posted this picture of herself on her fridge. She taped it on the fridge of her before, right? And she wrote fat, huh, on it under the question mark underneath it, right? And so every time that I went in that, I never had anything other than Crystal Light that whole summer. Every time that we went in that kitchen, I had to open up that fridge. I never drank anything other than Crystal Light because I was in a bikini and I had to see that fat, huh? And it wasn't meant for me. It was meant for her mom, right? But it had an impact on me, and I'm not even living there. So imagine the kind of impact that has the way that you talk to yourself, because that note was meant for her, right? It wasn't meant for her daughter. It was meant for her. But the way that mothers talk to themselves or talk about each other, it impacts all of us, anybody who's listening, right? I was probably 15 years old and it impacted me that summer. I never ate a thing in that house because I was too freaked out by it. I had a couple friends that had some pretty serious eating disorders. One was hospitalized. This was just really on my radar. And then I went to college and I became a stripper part-time. And now you've monetized it, right? If you ever had any illusions as to what you looked like, the dollar will let you know. And so I became very fixated. Like I knew my ideal window, my ideal weight, and it was a pretty small window, but I always kept that weight because it was my best weight. And then even when it was all said and done, and I was no longer doing that, and I was a stay-at-home mom living in the suburbs, even then, what really startled me was whenever you get women together, even now we're no longer making money off our bodies, right? We're moms. What do women do? We talk about how we're upset that we need to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, or we're disappointed in ourselves. And it really stunned me even then that we were still doing that and that I got into bodybuilding and I was backstage at like these bikini competitions. And when you are backstage at a bodybuilding competition, people are in like the peak that they will ever be. They're as good as they're going to get, right? And they'd be talking to some woman who'd say, who's disappointed in like the package that she brought to the stage. That's what you call it, is your package. Who would look at herself in the mirror and see a lot of flaws. And it just really got me thinking like how no matter what, if you don't fix yourself, it doesn't matter what kind of body you have because you will always be wanting, if you're always trying to hit that external validation, whatever society tells you, the look. And with bodybuilding too, it depends on the different judges that you get at that competition. If you, as long as you're always seeking that external validation, you will never really be confident. And it was only, I swear to God, I was 40 years old before I finally realized this, which is way too long. And I had realized it because I had quit exercising for about 6 or 7 years when my kids were little because I was just too busy. I didn't gain any weight. I looked very much mostly the same, but I had lost some of my muscle mass. I remember that as my body got weaker, I got mentally weaker. Like I was suddenly being pushed around. I felt like some of their moms were pushing me around. I felt like my kids and my husband were pushing me. I love my husband, but I just felt like I was everybody's bitch, right? I was just getting pushed around. And I took a hard look at myself in the mirror one day and I thought, I miss my arms. I used to have good arms. And instead of wanting to look attractive, I wanted to look like vaguely threatening. I wanted to look like a force to be reckoned with. And so I started lifting weights because I almost wanted to punch somebody. And I wanted to feel like if I did, I could knock them on their butt. And it was through wanting to get strong. I started lifting then instead of for a look, I lifted because I wanted to get really strong. And it was like a cage door opened. Within a few months, I no longer wanted to punch somebody. I felt really super positive, and I was no longer worried about what I couldn't eat, so I shrank. I was worried about nourishing my body and supporting growth. And it was that enormous change in mindset that I was like, oh my God, I have to tap into this. And that's why I started writing for fitness magazines.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm fine with long
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah.
Less of me talking is fine with me.
Okay.
But I've noticed that people who are really into that in the groups that I'm in and
Yeah.
everything else,
Yeah.
that's what they've discovered
Yeah.
is that part. And
Yes.
I think that's really what it's about is how do you feel inside of your body with your
Yep.
eyes closed and you're doing that scan? How do you feel?
Yes.
And I love feeling that strength within myself. I love that
Yes.
part of exercise. And I love releasing all of those pent up emotions because I am
Yeah.
a mom of 4 young children. I totally get that. I started to get teary-eyed during part of while you were talking because
Yeah.
there's my own work that I've been doing and
Mhm.
trying to undo because
Mhm.
my aunts and my mom, 2 different sides of the family,
Yeah. Yeah.
my paternal aunts and my mom are very much judgy about other people's body
Yeah.
types and stuff like that, and they say it out loud, so I grew up around that, and
Yes.
hearing that and just
Yes.
trying to I don't wanna be that way. How do I remove that from myself?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever watched the remake of Jumanji, the first remake of
I
Jumanji,
haven't
not the
seen it.
second
No.
version.
No.
There is this part that is so good. It's Jack Black speaking, and of course, like, whoever the writer wrote it is
Mhm.
amazing, and I'm gonna butcher it,
Okay.
but he is talking to a different character, and he's saying, "Do you think maybe you are so judgy because
Mhm.
you're trying to hurry up and judge others before they judge you?" And the first time I heard that, I'm getting goosebumps all over again. I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's
Yeah.
me. I get
Yeah.
that." And I think
Yeah.
that's where my family's coming from. And they're toxic in general, so I try and stay
Yeah.
away from them. But I moved to the other side of the United States. I'm
Yeah.
very separate from them. But
Mhm.
anytime I'm around them, just feeling that all over me
Yeah.
again. And I don't want to be that way about myself, about other
Yeah.
people. And I've really come to realize how much I can't be having that negative self-talk
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
my own body parts
Yeah.
because it shows up. The
Yep.
face that I make at myself in the mirror, my children notice that,
Mhm.
and even going there, then it's easier to have it said out loud. I don't want my children to see or hear that because they're miniature versions of me and my husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
personality-wise, they're their
Yeah.
own people for
Yeah. But it really and this is where I think I got really lucky is that my mom and dad were not like that, and I think that that's one of the reasons why I noticed it so much, like, elsewhere when I was out, and I think it's really important that you're conscious of that with your kids because even though I was in all these different, like, hotbeds of, like, diet culture, I think there was a little part of me that was protected because I knew I wasn't exposed to that at home, right? Like, I could view this as, like, something weird out in the world, but, like, at home, right, it was, like, safe, but I remember whenever I went in that friend's house, I was always very conscious of my body in my friend's house, and just think how that must have been for her, she lived there. And some
find her, reconnect,
yeah,
and then come back.
we lost
She
track of
probably
each
has a
other.
different name.
Yeah,
Might
yeah.
go by a middle name.
Yeah. So in my book is told from there's two main points of view. One of them is Gemma, who is a bikini bodybuilder. And so got a really good body and she used to be overweight and she lost a bunch of weight and documented it on Instagram, right? She had like her own transformation thing, right? So she got this huge following. And then the other point of view is Ashley, who is an overweight software engineer, and so she has to deal with the way that the world treats her because she's overweight. But Gemma, who has this outwardly great appearance, she has inside of her what she calls fat Gemma, and she's just terrified that fat Gemma's going to come out and like, ruin the whole thing. And so, like when you were talking about like this internal thing, like how you see yourself, right? It almost doesn't matter like, you could have the most perfect body ever, but if you can't fix your internal self, you'll always find those flaws, and it's so hard to fix that internal struggle. So, I
For
channeled it
me,
into a
I
yeah,
think about Michael Jackson, right? I grew
yeah.
up with him and, like,
Oh,
all of that, and
yeah.
how he was
Wasn't that
never had and
that's
that's internal
exactly.
work.
Exactly, because he's trying to hit he's, like, thinking, "I want that nose," or "I want that chin," and you're picking out these different pieces and putting it on himself, but it's probably it maybe doesn't that nose might not look right on him, or that chin might not look right, but again, it's that external thing, if you don't fix it inside, and that's such a perfect example because that's he was a good-looking guy, right? That's somebody who's good-looking, wealthy, very loved, right? The world loved him. I remember at his heyday, man, he was loved. Even at his heyday, it was once he'd hit that heyday where he was like doing all that weird plastic surgery and stuff. Once
Young enough to remember the plastic surgery part.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I mean,
That is amazing because it's really brought to light for me just how
mhm.
much the inner work matters, and
Yeah.
you can make all these changes. I have a friend who had rhinoplasty, so had her nose
Okay.
changed.
Yeah.
She was worried when she was pregnant that her baby would end up having her same nose before that
Uh-huh.
she hated, and
Yeah.
really thinking about those things we need to love these parts of ourselves because we're
Yeah.
gonna see the miniature parts of them
Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
children. It's so amazing the things that we hate about ourselves when they are on our children. We think they're precious and
Mhm.
adorable, and it's such a different light.
Yeah.
Where what if there's I would have to find it and link it, but let me think of Truth Bomb Mom. I forget her name
Okay.
right now, but I followed her stuff when my oldest was a baby. She's super popular, super out there, and she had this one YouTube video that was just amazing. She gathered her neighbors and her friends, like 5 of them or so, and what are the things that you tell yourselves that you would never tell anybody else that are
Mhm.
just awful, like those
Yeah.
negative beliefs, those negative things that are kind
Yeah.
of on a loop,
Yeah.
and they would say them, and then she's like, "Okay, well, now say it to this person." And the
Yeah.
picture that she brought out was the picture of them as a child, and they
Uh-huh.
instantly started crying.
Yeah.
We're telling our inner child, though, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And think about it with our children as
Mhm.
well. It just there's so much that we need to make sure that we are working on. So we're not projecting that. Because
Much
when we're
agree.
over there judging other people, we're projecting our own
Yes.
stuff. So
Yes. And that's one of the ways that social media, like what you're talking there is like a really good thing about social media, but then the social media can also have that ugly aspect where sometimes people can be cruel to each other on social media. And it's a tough line to straddle because you go there to learn, to find things that inspire you, but then you stumble upon other things that may not.
may not.
Oh, okay. But so you may stumble on other things that may not support your mental health. I can
Absolutely.
give you an example on the actual spark, right, that led me to write this book, but it actually came from social media. In January of 2020, and you might remember this, Jillian Michaels was interviewed on BuzzFeed News, and she was asked what she thought of Lizzo as a body acceptance role model. And she said, "Why are we celebrating her body? Why aren't we celebrating her music? Because it's not going to be awesome if she gets diabetes." And social media blew up, right? There were like people who were calling for Jillian's head, accusing her of fat shaming. There were other people saying, "No, we have to quit normalizing obesity and things like that." But if you looked at the comments, there were thousands of comments, and there was a lot of women really going at each other, saying like really mean things. And then a few months later, Adele posted a picture of herself, a birthday picture of herself to Instagram. And in that picture, it was really clear that she had lost a lot of weight. And all of a sudden, the comments just blew up. There were people saying they were disappointed in her because they viewed her as a body acceptance role model. There were other people who were saying it's really great that she lost weight and she's getting healthy. A woman ought to be able to post just a picture of herself to social media without the entire world critiquing her body. And it was all this nastiness in the comments, these warring sides that got me thinking, like, what if this body war that was online moved offline? Yeah, like what might happen? And that's when the spark for my book came about. It was originally called Body Wars when I was writing it, but it was renamed Bodies to Die For because my publisher thought that sounded more thriller-like, and I think that they made the right choice there.
And it's true. We can
Yeah.
think of it in different connotations,
Yeah.
but thinking of the fact that when we are over nurturing our bodies with the
Yeah.
wrong things,
Yeah.
yes, it can lead to diabetes and everything else. So
Yeah, and just but if even if you think about it, the type of things and it's mostly all women that we're willing to put ourselves through. I think anorexia is like the highest death rate of any
that's
mental illness,
exactly where I was
right?
going next.
Yeah, people will take that or I know they're not doing it
There's
quite as much anymore.
orthorexia, where you
Yeah.
work out too much too, and
Yep.
it's just
Yep.
the pendulum of everything, and there's
Yep.
the trying to be in
Yeah.
moderation,
Yeah.
but
Or
we're so
how
out of touch with ourselves to know
yes.
what do we actually need for our own nourishment.
Yes.
Why are we
Yep.
needing that dopamine hit? Why are we needing these things? Like,
Yeah.
what's really going on in here and in
Yeah.
here?
And two, just the length that women will go to and I know it's men too, but to because of these pressures from society or these internal pressures, like when people would get like bariatric surgery, or I remember like the Fen.
Or mutant teen
Do you remember Fen? You might be too young to remember Fen. It was like PHEN, I can't remember. It was like in the 90s or so. It was this diet drug, and everybody loved it. Everybody was going on it. And then a couple years later or something, people started to have like heart attacks, or they started to have I can't remember what it did something to their heart, right? And so the FDA yanked it off the market, right? No more fen-phen. This is
And then
pre-internet.
they'd have knockoffs that would still
But
do the
but
same
then
thing.
the people I remember people were so pissed at the FDA for yanking it off the market and wondering where they could get any black market then. And here we know it's causing heart issues, right? But people were willing to roll those dice. And then every now and then somebody like on Reddit or something will throw some kind of question out there like, if you could give up 1 year of your life or 10 years of your life to lose 50 pounds, would you do it? Right? It never fails. There's a lot of people who would do it. So it's, again, like you said, we have to fix our insides so that we can be happy with where we are externally. And that's why I'm such a fan of strength training, is because it doesn't just change your body, it changes your mind.
So I love this topic. My degree is in applied health. Love learning it. And I think it was for my own healing as well as
Mm-hmm.
just it's interesting. Every year there's a new study that comes out that it's actually this way. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. That's
Mm-hmm.
media portraying it that way when the studies
Yeah.
are pretty
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
Big eye roll there for the
Yeah.
way media changes things. And what a study that I found absolutely fascinating and then used it for my papers and everything in class is there are people who are skinny fat.
Oh,
You know,
yeah. You put really poor muscle tone and they don't exercise or anything.
the deep fat that's in
Yeah.
between your organs and everything,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the scary fat. The subcutaneous, the stuff that's
Yeah.
right there on the surface, that's fine. That's like extra resources fat compared to what's deep in
Okay.
there. And it really
Yeah.
depends on where you're holding fat as to whether it's
Yes.
really,
Deadly.
yes, I was going to
Yeah.
say catastrophic, but
Uh-huh.
really hard on your body. And there's that way with anorexia as well,
Mm-hmm.
and with orthorexia, with the
Mm-hmm.
exercising too much. What's really interesting is there are people that are obese that
Mm-hmm.
are actually healthy when they
Yeah.
get the body scans done and they
Yeah.
do the testing. I don't
Like a
even know if I
DEXA scan?
remember what it's called.
A
Yep, the
DEXA
DEXA
scan?
scan, but
Yeah.
no, the test that where you're on the treadmill and they have everything.
The VO
Yeah,
max.
where they
Yes,
have
okay.
everything hooked
Yeah,
up
yeah, yeah.
to see your respiration, your heart
Yeah,
rate, all of that. They're actually healthier than
yeah,
other people who
yeah,
look
yeah,
fit, maybe aren't actually. It's really that you can't judge a book by its cover. That's why
right.
you do extra testing. And it really, at the end of the day, it's how are you feeling in your body when
Yeah,
you're doing your body scan? Are you
yeah,
able to walk up and down the stairs okay? Are you able to run if a bear is chasing you type of okay?
yeah, yeah,
But think
yeah,
of it more in modern times, chase after that kid,
yeah,
going down the streets. Really, you could be, if you're looking at
yeah,
BMI, which is outdated, it's
yeah,
easy. That's why we still
mhm,
use it.
yeah.
But it's really more than that.
Okay.
But the fact is that you can't just look at the
Mhm.
cover and be like, "Oh, you're unhealthy because of this," or "You're unhealthy because of that."
Yeah,
And honestly, somebody who is, because we fat shamed so much,
yeah,
and I really started understanding things in the 90s. I was born in
mhm,
85, and how much fat shaming was popular back then.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
yeah,
So the fact that it
yeah,
even was in 76, you said?
yeah. I was born in '69, and she had her jaw wired shut when I was 10, so that would have been like '79. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I am surprised because I thought it was like 90s stuff.
Oh,
So,
there's still a lot of fat shaming then too.
yeah, and now, and the
Okay.
fact is we can go around judging people. We don't know what's going on for them. We don't
Right.
know if they have an autoimmune disease that keeps
Yeah.
them that way,
Mhm,
or if they look fit, but they
mhm.
actually aren't exercising. "Oh, I wish I had a body like that."
Yeah.
They could have chronic pain that you do not wish for.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
judge a book. Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
Or
But
they could
we
be
should judge
they
your
could
book.
yeah, or they could be recovering from an eating disorder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're getting over being anorexic, and so they've gained some weight, and maybe that's, like, the healthiest thing for them right now.
I've noticed for my own healing from growing up around that is the better I'm doing within myself, the more I'm
Yeah,
focused on doing my own inner
yeah,
work.
yeah,
I'm not worrying about everybody else, how they're
yeah,
looking, what they're feeling like.
yeah,
Yes, I am a coach. So
yeah,
if I see somebody that's saying that they're struggling with something, I would love to help you with that. Let's
yeah,
schedule a session and we can have a chat.
yeah, yeah,
But beyond that, I
mm,
have my own stuff that I'm working on because I want to
yeah,
be the best version of myself for myself and then for
yeah,
my family. And I think that's really the
yeah.
biggest thing. And I feel like that's really what your book is about.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like when you get all the way even though it's a thriller, right? It's a thriller. it culminates at the Olympia, which is the largest bodybuilding competition in the world, right? So it's got different fit girls that die from some, like one, I won't even say, but some interesting ways that they're like picked off. But at the very end, when you get to the end, you really, that afterward, you really understand that getting strong is the answer. It really is. If you can let go of trying to pursue that external validation, if you can instead want to get strong, that is like the cage door opening. It will change your life. And then again, that we as women need to quit ripping each other down. We need to quit tearing ourselves down, and we need to work together to create a better tomorrow. We so often say society this, society that. Who is society, right? It's you, it's me, it's our immediate. We can't control the people in California, but I can control the people in my immediate sphere and how they hear me talk, how I talk to my kids, how I talk to myself. All of that, we have to start. You have to start with you, and I think it's really important.
So that's why
Yeah,
she's saying California. She's an
yeah,
East Coaster or
yeah.
Midwesterner.
I'm Midwestern,
Yeah,
and you're
I'm
in
East Coast.
Maryland. That's why I
Yes.
chose California because neither one of us are there, right?
No, but it's a really
Um,
big state.
But what you said earlier, though, about how you might be healthier if you could outrun a bear or whatever. But I think, which obviously we don't really have to do that now, but there is something to be said for being able to know. I think it's empowering. Like, I like to always feel like I could, if I had to run a mile hard, I could. If I had to do a pull up and I love, but like, if I had to pull myself up over a ledge, I could. If I had to push something heavy away, I could. And I think, again, going back to that strength training, there's something really empowering about it, knowing that if I needed to, I could run. I could turn and fight if I needed to. I can carry my groceries. I don't have to go get help. It's just empowering to know that you're fit, you're capable, you can get a lot of stuff done.
I could not even link it to you. It
Yeah.
was on Instagram. She's a weightlifter.
Mhm.
And how many gallons is that? The water jug,
Oh,
the
like
big
a
ones?
gallon.
No.
Like a milk jug is like a
No,
gallon.
water
Like water
cooler.
cooler?
Yeah.
Maybe 5 gallons? Yeah.
I remember in the day, I'm like trying to put it on the water cooler. Sorry,
Yeah,
microphone.
yeah, yeah.
But one hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
What if you can do
empowering.
that? Yeah. What if
Yeah.
you are that well sharpened, oiled, clean,
Yeah, yeah.
not utility knife, but Swiss Army knife with all the
Okay.
different
Yeah,
little
yeah.
pieces? Can you tell I don't know anything really
That's
about knives
okay.
besides that
Yeah.
one looks cool and it's sharp?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, my husband's gonna
Yeah.
laugh and correct me later. You can be that. You can be that utility
Yeah.
knife, which is
Yeah.
exactly what she's talking about. And I think there is so much power in that.
Mhm.
And yes, we can go over medically why this is good. It
Mhm.
keeps your bone density longer,
Yeah.
so many other things. But
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day, is feeling good within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
And I usually exercise in the morning first thing. And I find it really sets me up for a good day. It gets your heart pumping. You change over that blood. You like work out some toxins that are like not serving you. And it just sets you up. It makes you feel really good. I know not everybody likes to exercise, but I think if you start doing it and if you stick with it for 3 or 4 months, I think you'll notice it probably even earlier than that, but a change in your mental outlook. You really will. I'm a
I know
big
so many
fan of
people
that.
who do
Yeah.
that instead of taking meds
Yeah.
for their mental health because
Yes.
it actually works better than that.
Yes.
Some people need both, so I'm not
Yeah.
saying that this
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
size
Yeah.
fits all. And I like doing it in the morning because if I do it
Yep.
too late at night, then I'm in bed awake.
Yep, me too. If I do it in the evening, I can't fall asleep. Also, the other thing is that the day tends to get away from me.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned I have a day job, right? I go to the office 3 days a week. I work as an engineer. We have a gym at my work. And sometimes I hardly ever do this anymore, but every now and then I would think, I'm going to do it on my lunch hour. And it never fails, man. Something comes up. Somebody needs something. So I've just quit doing that. I just do it in the morning. I just get it done because I just can't count on it.
And there's that. I did something hard already this morning. I
Yep.
can take
Yep.
on the rest of the day, which I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
I do
Okay,
too.
so tell us again the name of your book
Okay.
and
I have
how
it
we
right
can
here.
follow you.
Okay. So it's Bodies to Die For.
Even better with seeing
Yeah.
the way it looks.
Yeah. And you can buy it anywhere, like in any bookstore, like Barnes and Noble. You can buy it from Target. You can buy it online from Amazon. It's available in hardcover, softcover, electronically. There's an audio version, and the narrators are really quite good in the audio version. And then you can find me on Instagram at Lori Brand Writes and Lifts. And my website is just Lori Brand Writes. So that's how you can get a hold of me. Like writing. Yeah,
Perfect.
writes.
I'll have
Yep.
everything linked in the description so you don't have to try
Okay.
and write this down or find notes in your phone or anything
Yeah.
else. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for being
Oh,
on.
thank you for
And I'm gonna have
having
to
me.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I am your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach dedicated to empowering individuals to rediscover their identity, find balance amidst chaos, strengthen relationships, and pursue their dreams. My goal is to help people thrive in every aspect of their lives. I hope today's discussion inspired you and offered valuable insights. Stay engaged with our wellness community by signing up for my newsletter at wellnessinEverySeason.com/free resources. When you join, you'll have the option to receive a 5-day guide called Awaken and Unwind. 5 days to mastering your mornings and evenings, along with free guides, special offers on my programs, practical tips, personal stories, and much more, all related to wellness, by signing up for both offers on the page. Don't miss out on these valuable resources designed to help you thrive in every area of wellness. Join today and start your journey to wellness in every season. Your shares, subscriptions, and reviews help us reach more people seeking empowerment. So please spread the word about our podcast and about our newsletter. Thank you for being a part of our podcast community. I look forward to continuing our conversation, sharing stories, and exploring wellness in all of its aspects. Take care until our next episode. You can also work with me one-on-one or on demand through one of my programs by visiting wellnessinEverySeason.com/programs. One last thing to cover the show legally. I am a certified life coach giving general advice. So think of this more as a self-help book. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so this podcast shouldn't be taken as a replacement for professional guidance from a doctor or therapist. If you want personal one-on-one coaching from a certified life and parenting coach, go to my website, wellnessinEverySeason.com. That's where you can get personalized coaching from me for you. See you in next week's episode.